Hey, basketball fans, welcome to another episode of your favorite WNBA YouTube show, Around the Rim. I'm your co-host, LaChina Robinson, joined by co-host Terrika Foster-Brasby. And in case y'all weren't checking our Twitters, which you should be, Terrika and I actually got to see each other in Chicago because she came up for game one of the Chicago versus Connecticut series. No one is surprised that Terrika showed up for the Sun.
The shade.
But speaking of which, I had a wonderful time in Chicago. The fans there are incredible. Every time I go to that city, I feel like I have just this refreshing experience. There's always these little nooks and crannies. What the area we went to for dinner, Terrika, Fulton
Market.
Fulton Market was incredible. So shout out to Chicago. And matter of fact, came back with a little something for my mother. However, let me just say that shout out to Deborah Peters, who actually helped me make that happen. But that's for my mom, who's spoiled. But do you know that 2 of these was $75?
I do, because I buy like the smaller one, and both of those are like almost 30 for like 2 of those.
I need Garrett's to get on the
but it's good though.
Budget. Get in the budget, Garrett's. So now I'm preparing for the trip to the Northeast. Got my Dunkin' Donuts, coffee. Is there a problem with that, Terrika?
Oh no, I'm drinking Dunkin' as well.
Oh, okay.
AKA, this is not an endorsement of Dunkin'. We just like Dunkin' Donuts up here.
Yes, we do. Well, and I'm a Starbucks girl, but sometimes Starbucks can be too much. Like my order ends up being oat milk, chai tea, latte, grande, extra hot.
Because you're a snob. You're a Starbucks snob. Like you
do too much.
We're gonna have to have a whole podcast on
yes,
this.
We will.
Coffee snob.
We absolutely will. So I want to start out before we get to talking about the playoff series. In case you guys aren't paying attention, WNBA is in the semifinals round of the playoffs. Just finished up game 2s between Vegas and Seattle and Connecticut and Chicago. Before we get there, Terrika, just want to give you a moment if there was anything that stood out to you in terms of awards, because I know that Most Improved was released. Brianna Jones, Sixth Woman of the Year was Brianna Jones. Most Improved was Jackie Young. Defensive Player of the Year, A'ja Wilson. We had the all defensive teams named. So we're starting to see some awards. Ryan Howard was Rookie of the Year.
Right.
No shocker to anyone. But did anything stand out to you as far as awards are concerned?
The only award that really stood out to me was the defensive first and second team. Those were the awards that kind of took me off guard a little bit. And, it reminded me of back in 2020 when Candace Parker won Defensive Player of the Year, but did not make either of the all defensive teams. That's the feeling that I got when I received the email that Alyssa Thomas had been voted second runner-up for the Defensive Player of the Year award, but was also voted on the second all defensive team. And I didn't understand that. I mean, for me, it feels like if enough voters thought enough of you for you to end up being second, how could you have fallen to the second team? So, of course, a lot of the feedback has been because the defensive teams are voted by position, whereas, earlier this year, they allowed the all WNBA teams to be voted just based on whoever. It was a positionless voting. So
right.
My argument to that though was, and didn't say on the ballot that you had to vote based on whatever they were listed on the roster. It said that you needed to vote on them based on the position that they played regularly this year. That leaves a lot of room for interpretation in my eyes. Not enough clarity, not enough. If you're a person like me who finds loopholes and everything, to me, that meant, okay, what you regularly play. I felt that A'ja Wilson had played enough at the center position this year that she could have been classified as that on that ballot. So for me to go A'ja, Stewie, and AT, that was how you could make room for it. But again, I just think that there has to be some better form of criteria set for some of these awards and positions, because it just doesn't look good optically. And it certainly doesn't feel good if you're Alyssa Thomas. And also, if I'm not mistaken, these CBAs award money for making these sorts of teams and where you place on these sorts of teams. And so it actually goes a little further now than just, fans are upset or, we want to see this or that. Like you are really, playing with people's money when you're voting on where they place in these particular award settings. And so that to me was the only thing that stood out as having a little bit of a problem.
Well, you're much kinder than I am, Terrika. And you have more friends out here in the world. Me, I don't care. So, what I will say about voting is this: the media messed this up. To your point, it was very clear that, hey, you put them in whatever position that they played, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. I spoke to league sources that assured me that A'ja Wilson received more votes at the power forward position than she did at the center position. And that's how you are placed. Now, had A'ja Wilson received more votes at the center position, which is the position she played for 90% of this season, then she would have been first team all defense as a center. Alyssa Thomas would have been a power forward, and Breanna Stewart would have been the other forward. Life is fine. Guys, what are you doing? That's on us. That's on the media. Like, we cheated Alyssa Thomas out of a first team designation because we did not follow directions, or we're not, I don't know what happened. Because to your point, and I haven't gone back and looked at the instructions, but I totally take what you said to be true, because that's what I did. I turned in my ballot with A'ja Wilson at center and then those two at forward. So if it doesn't say you need to list them according to the roster, put them in the position that they played in. And even if it does say that, turn in your ballot and make them send it back to you. Period. This is on us. Period. So just needed to get that off my chest. I was also disappointed that there was no one from the Chicago Sky on all defense.
Yeah.
There got to be one. As Nelly famously said about Air Force Ones, you may not have 3 or 4, but you got one, man. Okay? You got one.
You do.
So Rebecca Gardner, Kalia Copper, Candace Parker, someone. Emma Meeseman.
Candace Parker.
Yeah. So that's all I've got on awards. Everything else, whatever. I thought everything went according to plan, and congratulations to everybody.
Now, let's question for you.
Yes.
And this may be a little too deep, but at the end of the day, I'm going to ask you anyway. There also seems to be I don't want to say a consensus, but there also seems to be some questions regarding if some of the media members who are voting have opportunities to watch all the games. Now, in my opinion, I don't really care if you have the opportunity to watch all the games, because number one, League Pass does show the games even after the games have been played. So if you're in a blackout area, you got an opportunity to look back.
On demand.
Number two, social media is filled with highlight sites, reels, YouTube, all type of stuff like that are continually showing plays and showing what's happening. If you are on a beat, you have other beat writers I'm sure you follow. I follow a ton of them, as well as the national outlets. So I don't really care about the excuse of, oh, I don't get a chance to watch all the games. If you're going to be a voter, you need to be able to have the ability to fairly, justly, and realistically have a great sense and a great outlook of all of the league, not just the league that you follow, not just the teams that you follow. So that's just the other thing for me.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I've had friends call me and say, listen, I'm on the committee to vote for WBCA all defensive team for, college. And I really don't think I'm qualified to do this. I've worked for one network, or I haven't got to watch enough games. I'm going to tell them that I don't think that I should be a voter. It's okay to do that. It's okay to say, you know what? I just, maybe this award, I just don't feel as comfortable. Like, it's okay to not vote if you don't feel like you can, right? And I think that's the responsible thing to do in those situations if you don't feel like you really have. And listen, the WNBA media, I am blown away by all the people we have now that are covering WNBA. They're passionate. Many of them are doing it for little to nothing. Many of them are doing it in addition to their full-time jobs. Like, you talk about people that just love this sport. And that's why I get frustrated sometimes with fans and even players, because there seems to be a lack of knowledge that hey, these people are doing this for a lot less money and recognition than the average sports, cover, someone that covers sports. Like it's hard to cover the WNBA. It's tough, right? You and I are 15 years in, you probably a decade or something like that. And you know what I'm saying? So not taking away from that at all, but I think as media, we have to be okay with what we don't know. Yeah. Right? Like it's okay to say, I don't know. Period. All right. So I know Terrika's doing some special things today because she was a part of a major back to school giveaway. So we don't have a lot of time here, but major takeaways for you in the Sun Sky series, going back to Connecticut now, tied up 1-1 with a good luck video from Gino Auriemma to boot.
Well, first off, if you want to give Candace Parker any kind of motivation for game 3, post a video of Gino Auriemma saying we think that Connecticut Sun is going to the finals. I mean, I don't necessarily want to disagree with Gino. I just don't think the strategy was the strategy I would have chose given that history, but that's neither here nor there, right? I'm going to do the sandwich. Good thing, bad thing, good thing. Good thing. I love that Jonquel Jones got more involved in the offense. She has to continue to do that. And they have to continue to get her more involved in the offense. 23 points in game 2, significantly more than the 12 points that she gave in game 1. She seemed to be a little bit more assertive down low. She seemed to be a little bit more aggressive. I love that. Love that physicality about her. Bad thing. Just because Jonquel shows up, everybody else can't go missing, specifically DeWanna Bonner. We've said on numerous occasions that DeWanna Bonner is one of the X factors for this team. And so when she plays well offensively, this team is very hard to beat. She did not play well at all. She had 2 points, and those 2 points came because she shot a free throw. So DeWanna Bonner has to get back in it. But good thing on the end is that they're coming back to Connecticut, right? And so you have an opportunity to use your home court. You have an opportunity to use your fans. You have some time in between to kind of shake this loss off, figure out how do you defensively get back in it, figure out how do you, find your shot. They were so frustrated that they were missing so many wide open shots. It was ridiculous. They did close the gap to 6 for a little bit, but, this is what Chicago does after a loss, which is another issue that probably will need to be addressed. But this is what Chicago does after a loss. I expected them to come out a lot hungrier in this game. I expected them to come out with way more firepower. You absolutely didn't think they were going to play as defensively bad as they did in game 1. So realistically, this was expected. But now Connecticut has to come back on Sunday and counter, or else this could be over in 4.
So I'll go quick on this. I'm calling the series. So, I'm not going to go crazy here on anything out of respect for both teams. But I do agree with all of your points. And I absolutely agree that DeWanna Bonner has to be a factor. 100%. I don't think JJ gets enough respect for how she shows up so consistently for this team. I was impressed with Chicago's defense in game 2. I didn't even think it was their offense necessarily. I think they played smarter because in game 1, they missed a lot of easy shots. Like Chicago could have won game 1, taking nothing away from Connecticut because they were outstanding defensively. But I think we would all admit that we were like, Chicago is missing a lot of shots they would normally make, right? Makes a few more of those, but I thought their defensive aggressiveness and ball screens was a factor in giving them more energy on both ends of the floor. One thing that I think we may see as this series heads back to Connecticut, and this is not anything I've gotten from the team, this is just my own thoughts. We could see more Dejanay Carrington on the floor for Connecticut. Courtney Williams has struggled with her shot, right? Which we know what she's capable of, but she's, and has done everything else, has been very active. I've been impressed with her defense, just still not hanging her head and counting herself out and she did hit a few more shots, I think, in the last game. But Dejanay Carrington, to me, in a series could be a little bit of a change that makes a big difference, right? You've got Kalia Copper, who's a big wing. You've got Gardner, that's a big wing. A smaller backcourt with Courtney Williams and Atisha Heidemann. I just think that more minutes and opportunity earlier for Dejanay Carrington could be a solution to Connecticut really getting that transition game and those easy buckets from their defense like they're used to getting. So I don't know if that will happen necessarily. Also, obviously, I expect the home crowd to give Connecticut a boost. But that's something a little change because, in game 2, I know it got away from them, but I didn't really feel like Connecticut made the shots they could have made either. I mean, Bree Jones was missing shots in the paint, and, Chicago did a nice job in there, but I just thought there was some opportunities that could have given Connecticut a little bit of momentum. And I'm going to end on this. When you're on the road, hitting your free throws, responding to runs, meaning hitting easy buckets here and there that kind of take the crowd out of it. Like those are the little things that go from they have a 13-point lead to they only have a 6-point lead, right? Like kind of keeps you within striking distance. I didn't think Connecticut did enough of that answering to run. So not concerned for either team necessarily. We've seen some great basketball. But that's one change with Dejanay Carrington that I think with Connecticut that I think could help them a little bit.
I would agree with that. I would just also add really quickly too, from a Chicago perspective, they did an excellent job with making sure they shared the ball. I believe all 5 players scored in double figures. They did a great job of moving. And James Wade said, "We gonna shoot." That's what he said. He said, "We gonna shoot," and they absolutely did that. So just want to make sure that we credit them and give them some love, because I don't need y'all in my DMs talking about we don't show Chicago no love.
Listen. Get used to it. Get used to it, girl. They stay in my DMs. They stay in my mentions. I'd be like, I don't even know why people waste their time because I don't care. I barely even read my Twitter responses. So good luck getting my attention. All right. So moving on to the Seattle series in Vegas, which I know you and I, neither one of us has got to really watch closely. I'll be honest. I've watched it as a fan. I have not really watched it as an analyst because, we're exhausted by our own series, just really trying to cover everything on our end. But Breanna Stewart versus A'ja Wilson has given us all the life in the world. Like, everything. We're looking at the future of the game. Yes, we're saying goodbye to the Sue Birds and the Sylvia Fowles and the Breon Januaries and the Kia Vaughns. Like we'll be shedding players over these next couple years. Diana's going to go. Candace Parker's going to go. Which can we talk about Candace Parker for a minute? We'll come back around to that as the closer to this show. But I really believe that Breanna Stewart and A'ja Wilson are going to carry the game. And I saw this on Twitter. And I don't know where the reference came from, but my father has always said, this is Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Like that is who these two are. And how that rivalry really helped to build the NBA. And my dad has talked about that. I think that's the reference that they were making on Twitter. I'm not sure. I thought I saw that somewhere. But they've just been so fun to watch. So what happens as this series goes to Seattle, T? I'm going to be honest with you. Seattle's crowd and just that factor. First of all, Vegas looked incredible. Like they did their part. Their crowd came. They were like, and so you start to think, is this a series that's about home court? And I said that from the very beginning, like home court advantage could decide this. But where are you leaning, or what have you seen in this series that as we go to game 3?
I have seen so many players that I've already felt like were superstar players just kind of elevate themselves to a level of wow. And that player to me specifically that stands out is Chelsea Gray. Chelsea Gray is a champion. She knows what it takes to win. But I tweeted this, the other day, big time players show up in big time moments, and Chelsea is as big time as it gets. And like, there is just nothing that you can say about how she has elevated her game specifically over these playoffs, but this year in particular, she really has turned being an all-star snub to energy and motivation, and she's bringing it, and she's so difficult to guard. And when you got that to what A'ja Wilson is putting out on the court, like you find it so hard to bet against this team. And then you look on the other side and you see Stewie's matching that, you know what I mean? 33 points, 32 points, 3 boards, like she's matching that. And her team is also matching her energy. 10,000 people showed up to Michelob Ultra Arena.
And it looked great on TV.
10,000 and you got to know 10,000 more gonna show up at Climate Pledge Arena. Like, and so this to me is really what, I want to say the prototype of what WNBA basketball could and should look like if people continue to invest, if people continue to promote, and people continue to market, and we continue to get amazing players to put great products on the floor. This is what it can look like. And so, I don't know who's going to win this series. I've said it. I don't know.
Okay. So here's what I'll say. I was glad to see Vegas play through A'ja Wilson. That was huge. They need to see the fruits of that. Like, that entire team needs to see, when we give the A'ja the ball first and we establish her, other things happen. I also thought that Kelsey Plum's offense down the stretch of that game was good. Getting to the rim, hit a couple buckets, like just taking control of her offense and where she can really impact the team. Chelsea Gray, we need to be documenting her performances right now because they have just been out of this world. So I like those aspects of Vegas. I have to go back and watch again as an analyst. I heard they played small ball, which to me makes a lot of sense because they can spread the floor better around A'ja. I also don't think that, Kia Stokes not being an offensive threat, Rupert being still kind of getting acclimated, all that. I don't think that helps you in some instances against a very potent Seattle team. So I could see how that would work. But anyway, I need to go back and watch. Jewell Loyd did not have a good game too.
They played her really tight too.
Stewart can be the Batman. A'ja Wilson can be the Batman, but they all need a Robin. Chelsea is Asia's Robin, and Stewart needs hers. Now, Tina Charles has served in that capacity, but I hate to say this as a post player, you got to have big time guard play in the playoffs. You do, right? And I think Sue Bird has to be on the floor for them, you know what I'm saying? Like, as much as possible. But I still think that Jewell has to play well. So,
yeah.
As this,
I think she will, though.
Go ahead.
I think she will, though. Honestly, I think it was really just an off night for Jewell because she really, I want to say she started the game like 2 for 10. It was just an off night, right? And everybody has those. But to your point, you need to have another person who can be able to step up and give you that additional that you're missing. And it's difficult to decide in which day who that's going to be for Seattle, whether that's going to be Tina, whether that's going to be Sue, whether that's Stephanie, whether that's Jewell. But and Gabby Williams is still missing. I haven't seen an update on when she's going to come back, but she's still out from concussion protocol. So it's difficult to find out who that player is going to be game in, game out for Seattle. But I think we kind of know who that player is each and every time for Las Vegas, whether that's Chelsea or it's Kelsey Plum, because she did her part as well. So yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
All right. I know we got to go, but I do want to, before we go, give a little bit of a love and respect to the one Candace F. Parker. Okay. Her middle name's Nicole, but y'all get where I'm going. Okay. But Terrika, they need to stop playing in Candace's face. Like, the disrespect over time for Candace Parker, the lack of appreciation is just incredible. Like, this is a woman who's 36 years old. Okay. Who is in the top 3 of almost every playoff career statistical category, next to one Tamika Catchings for the most part in every category, which I just want to give some love to the Pat Summitt legacy, because when you have 2 players that come from your program that are carrying the playoff stats, so showing up when it matters the most, like, that's, to me, that's the ultimate respect. But in these last couple of games by one Candace Parker, who has also had 8 knee surgeries throughout her career, 8, Terrika, she does so much to prepare for games. I wish I had the list with me. Acupuncture, ultrasound, massages, contrast. I mean, she has had to learn to take better care of her body. She has told us point blank, she thought her career was over at one point because of all the injuries. But she has reinvented herself, in particular over the last 6 or 7 years, to become the player we see right now. I just want to give some love to that game 1 performance by Parker. 19 points, 18 rebounds, 6 blocks, 5 assists, 4 steals. She is the only player in the history of this league to have these numbers, and she's done it 3 times. There is no one like her. The point forward, the best point forward of all time is sewed up. Like, the vision, the defense, and the defense has gotten better over time. Wasn't always a great defensive player, but she's committed to that end of the floor. I just want to give Candace some love. 22 points in game 2, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, but double-figure rebounds in all but 1 game of these playoffs. Like, just come on now. Come on now.
You dropped the mic. I mean, you honestly dropped the mic. There's just not much that you can add to who Candace is, what Candace has done, what Candace continues to do. And y'all gonna keep playing and then gonna miss her when she gone, which is probably one of the reasons why she don't want to have this farewell tour, because she know that some of y'all out here fake. Y'all love her when she about to leave, but won't love her right now by putting her on the award teams that she deserves, by keeping her in the categories that she deserves.
So fake.
Like, the love is fake.
Love is fake. And you know what we talked to her about this, and she was like, I don't care. Like, I want to win championships. You know what I'm saying? I want to win championships, but I could tell it bothers her. I don't think she'll ever say that, but she was like, I mean, look at Kobe's career. You know, people now, everybody's like, mom of this, mom of that, but nobody really liked Kobe when he was playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and to me, Candace is not warm and fuzzy, and that's okay. Like, we have to get over this thing when it comes to women of like, you gotta be this outgoing social media personality person who's just sweet to everybody. Candace is a competitor. She gets down to the business. And I know you got to go, so I'm going to close this up. But I'm just saying, like, we got to stop. She is who she is. Yeah. But let the numbers do the talking. She's now won 2 championships. When she only won 1, I could see, you know, people being like, how can she be one of the greatest? But she's got 2 now and working on a 3rd.
And so, very much in the running for a 3rd.
Like, come on now. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'm calling this series, and it's just been great to watch her, Jonquel. Like, there's just been outstanding play. Alyssa Thomas defensively is just ridiculous. Like, I feel so blessed to be a part of this. But anyway, all right, I'm done.
I'm glad you shouted out Alyssa Thomas, because when I do it, they call me a homer. Thank you.
Well, I won't even go there, but yeah, whole nother conversation. We appreciate y'all for watching. Remember, y'all can hit us on Twitter at Around the Rim Pod. I am at LaChina Robinson. Terrika's at She Knows Sports. We'll see y'all next week. Watch the WNBA playoffs.